So there is no assignment for today. Note, this is the last topic that we're going to discuss about the unit of Earth's history and resources. Uh, all that I'm asking you guys to do today is to make sure you understand this concept. I would recommend having paper, pencil, actually take some notes here, try to learn this material. Uh, so again, there's not going to be any follow along worksheet or anything like that. Just ask you to kind of pay attention and let's learn this material together. Okay? This is the last topic for the quiz next week. But this topic that we're going to talk about today is going to lead us into the rest of the year and why certain things are happening in our world today. A lot of the conflict, a lot of the issues that we have in our world today have to do with resources. Okay? And so we're going to talk about that, discuss that. This can be a little bit of a touchy topic, especially for countries that are well off, citizens that are well off, versus countries and citizens that are not very well off. Okay? The idea of resources and sharing resources or not sharing resources can become very political. And obviously it has. I mean, ever since, technology and the ability to share resources. But this has been going on for hundreds of years, though. This is the reason why Europe wanted to colonize the world and send ships across the world to go get resources. Christopher Columbus trying to go across the ocean to go to India and get resources. Go find gold and silver, blah, blah, blah. Okay? It's been happening for hundreds of years. And it's still happening today, and it will happen in the future as well. But this is definitely something that humans have to deal with, and it can cause a lot of touchy-feelies, when this happens. So the connection is between Earth's history, what happened in the past, and then the resources that we have today. Okay? The very first thing we're going to talk about, fossil fuels. Last week we talked about fossils a little bit. Well, fossil fuels are exactly that. They're fossils of living organisms from the past. Okay? So again, it's not a weekly schedule if you want to follow along with this. Okay? So fossil fuels are exactly that. They are fossils. Okay? They are natural resources. Okay? And they are hydrocarbon based. Hydrocarbon means that they have hydrogen atoms and carbon atoms bonded together that come from living things. Okay, they're not rocks. They're not, I wish we could use a rock for resources. That'd be awesome. Okay? But they are ancient living things that have fossilized, okay, or gathered together, essentially. A lot of people, when they hear the word fossil, they always think of animal. And they tend to think of dinosaurs. But it can be any animal, but it can also be plant, algae, fungi, any living organism. Okay, it doesn't have to be just an animal. There's 7 different things in living kingdom. Most of the fossil fuels that we have in the world, we are using them to generate electricity. There is a good chunk of fossil fuels that we are using for transportation, for cars, planes, things like that. But most of the fossil fuels go to make electricity. Okay? And if you had to remember, back before Christmas, how do we make electricity? By turning a magnet around a wire. That's all we're trying to do to make electricity, is turn a magnet around a wire. So, at home, if your power goes out, or if you go camping, you have an RV, you have a generator that you start up, make electricity for your house. All that thing is a magnet going around wires that's making electricity for your house, for your RV, when the power goes out. And your car, you have a generator called an alternator in your car. But you have a little device in your car that's making electricity. And all it is a magnet going around wires, solenoid, that's recharging your battery and running your radio and all that stuff while you drive your car. Okay? So if it's not based on battery technology, we are using fossil fuels mostly to make electricity. Okay? So the easiest way to make electricity is to heat up water and turn water into steam that will move a magnet around a wire. Okay? And so fossil fuels such as coal, oil, gas, they are just firewood to heat up water. A lot of kids think that fossil fuels are making electricity. Like without fossil fuel, you would have no electricity. No, we just got to figure out a better way to heat up gas or heat up water. That's all fossil fuels are doing. They're heating up water. Okay? And then that water is making a magnet move around a wire. Okay? So are there other ways to heat up water? Yes. There are other ways. Okay? Now the other problem we have here, when we burn fossil fuels, hydrocarbons, there are some byproducts. So look at the formula down here. Carbon and hydrogen at whatever ratio, plus oxygen in the environment, in the air. When we burn that, it makes carbon dioxide and water. Okay. So last week, we talked about how do we get a stable environment for Earth, atmosphere, by taking away the carbon dioxide, putting it underground. That makes the atmosphere suitable for other living things. We are literally doing the opposite right now. We are literally making the atmosphere unsuitable for ourselves by burning the carbon dioxide, or by burning the hydrocarbon that the world stored for millions of years and releasing the carbon dioxide in there. Okay? And yes, we're playing a very dangerous game of how much can we do? How much carbon dioxide can we put in the air before something bad happens? You know, we're playing this very dangerous experiment. And a lot of people use the data of like, well, we're not dead yet, let's keep doing it. That's a dangerous experiment to play, right? And to be honest with you, some things are dying because of it. Maybe not us, but. So are there other ways to make electricity or to superheat water? Yeah, there are. Okay, there are a lot of other ways to superheat water or make electricity. So hydroelectric, using water, like dams and reservoirs and things like that. Wind can turn the magnet around a wire, make electricity. Solar heating. We can use the sun to heat up the water, make steam. Geothermal. The earth itself can heat up the water, make steam. There are lots of things that we can do. Now, I will be honest with you. The easiest way to make electricity is with fossil fuels. And that's the reason why we do it. That is the easiest, that is the cheapest way to make electricity. Does that mean it's the best way to make electricity? Not necessarily. Okay? The other problem that we have is that we're not investing the money to figure out other technologies to do the same thing. Right now, we're just like, don't worry about it. Let's just keep burning fossil fuel. We don't need to worry about the other stuff. Okay? And you can imagine if the energy companies, if they actually invested in other forms of technology, we might find a really, really good way to use energy, to use wind, to use water, to use solar. We might invent a solar panel that you hook up to your car and you never need oil again. If we put money into that experiment, put money into that research, maybe we'll discover something like that. Maybe we'll discover some kind of paint you can paint on your car that turns solar energy into fuel for you. How are we going to know if we don't invest money into researching those things? Okay. So there's a lot of political things going on here. Yes, it's easy, it's simple to burn fossil fuels for electricity, but we're also going to run out eventually. So, is fossil fuels unlimited? Absolutely not. Remember that fossilization is a very, very special and a very, very rare process. Very unique process. Not everything fossilizes. Okay, and that's important. Fossilization also requires a certain amount of time. I can't make a fossil tomorrow. Okay, I mean, it takes a lot of time to do this. Okay, and also, fossilization is limited. Do you have living things to fossilize? Is there anything there that you can make the energy from? So, for example, if you think about today, the Sahara Desert, there's not a lot of plant and animal in the Sahara Desert. Yes, there's some. So, in the future, the Sahara Desert is not going to be a place I would dig for coal or gas or oil, right? Because there's nothing living there to make coal and oil and gas a million years from now. So, you know, it's not limited. It's not everywhere. Not everywhere had these organisms to make those fuels. Therefore, fossil fuels are limited resources. Scientists right now predict that we have about 150 years left of oil and gas, assuming we don't find any major oil pockets. And we've been looking. we look for them all the time because that's how people make money. But assuming we don't find any major oil pockets, we have about 100, 150 years of oil left. Again, to you, that you might not care. Like, well, I'll be dead in 150 years. Okay. What about your grandkids? What about your great grandkids? You think they want some oil? I mean, you think they want some of those? You think they want some of that stuff? Okay. And again, a lot of people have that attitude. Well, that's good enough for me. Okay, good attitude to have. Okay. Just remember that when you're old and your grandkids come running up to you, kick you in the legs. You took all of our oil. Yeah, I know. Sorry. Yep. All right. Does everybody around the world have fossil fuels? Nope. And again, very similar reason. Because of the processes that require fossilization and the history of the Earth, not all areas of the world have fossil fuels, or at least none that they can use. Okay? And this is a really big deal. This creates an uneven distribution of resources. Okay? There's not an equal distribution. And I'll go ahead and give a little spoiler alert for you. The United States is a very fortunate country because we have most of the resources. And that is one reason why we are a powerhouse of the world, because we have resources. We don't necessarily have to rely on other countries, other people. Okay? Not only is there an unequal distribution, there is also an uneven consumption of energy. So there are some countries that don't have a lot of energy, but are using a lot of energy. Okay? And so that is an uneven consumption. Okay? Or there are some countries that are holding on to their resources and they're burning through all of it and not sharing with other people. Again, that is an uneven distribution. Okay? So as you can imagine, if a particular country or a particular area does not have resources, what do they have to do? What would you do if you did not have resources? Yeah. What would be something peaceful you could do if you need resources? You go over to your neighbor's house and say, "Hey, I don't have any toilet paper." Go over to your neighbor's house. What are some things you could do at your neighbor's house? Hmm? Okay. Trade. So trade, you think about trade money for toilet paper, or you say, "Hey, I have milk. You got toilet paper. Trade." You can kill them. Go take their toilet paper. Okay. Go to war with your neighbor for toilet paper. I mean, you could. I'm not saying you should, but you could, right? I mean, like, and that creates conflict when you do not have an equal distribution. Now, I'll be honest with you, this is a very socialistic idea. Yes, I get it. Okay. Very socialistic idea, but with that, it does create conflict. That's just part of the world we live in. So countries or areas that do not have resources have to either import the resources, buy the resources, or they have to conquer and get resources that way. And again, this has been happening for hundreds of years. And that's why Christopher Columbus and all the other explorers left their country to go get trade and import and conquer to get their resources. And again, that can create an uneven distribution of wealth and conflict. So if you are a country with no resources, you are now losing even more money to buy resources. And then that country that had resources is even becoming richer because you are giving them money for resources. And that creates an uneven distribution of wealth. And eventually your country might run out of money. They can't buy that stuff anymore. And that's going to cause some severe conflict. And they might start going places and taking it, starting wars, starting battles, killing people for resources. And I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. That happens all the time. Okay? Even America does those type of things as well. Okay. So first resource we're going to talk about is coal. Especially here for Kentucky. We like coal here in Kentucky. Coal is particularly made from plant material. So if you want coal in the future, got to have plants, got to have trees and grasses, things like that. The other thing you kind of need to remember is hundreds of millions of years ago, billions of years ago, plants were on land, but there were no animals. Plants came first. The animals were in the water, in the ocean. And eventually they walked out of the water, got on land. So for millions and billions, I'll make sure I use my numbers correctly here, but millions and hundreds of millions of years, there were no animals on the trees and the plants and the grasses and stuff like that. They weren't eating the grasses. And so when the grasses grow and died, they just pile up organic material. Whether it's wood, grasses, peat, bushes, whatever, trees. When they die, they just fall down to the ground and they just build up. Over a long period of time, and again, you put that pressure of packing, okay, that plant material turned into coal. Okay, so the coal we have today, which is this map, came from ancient forest, ancient woodland. And forest does not grow everywhere. Okay? And guess what? It didn't grow everywhere millions of years ago either. And so there is an uneven distribution of coal in the world because there were not plants everywhere in the world. Just like there's not plants everywhere in the world today. So look at these pockets of oil reserves and oil locations, deposits. Again, look at the United States. We're a very fortunate country in the fact that we have a decent amount of coal there. But if you look at other countries, look at South America, you look at Europe, look at Africa, look at Saudi Arabia and Iran and places. They don't have that kind of stuff because there was not ancient forest there hundreds of millions of years ago. So again, we keep looking at America a little bit here. Yeah, we got quite a bit of coal. And those are the ancient forests that were there. Look at China, look at Russia. Okay. Those powerful countries today. Yeah. So again, why is there only certain places in the world? That's where the ancient forests used to be. All right, petroleum and natural gas. They're primarily made the same way. Petroleum and natural gas are typically from ocean life, though. Ocean plants and animals. Most of the ocean plants and animals live in shallow ocean. They die, they fall to the ground. They die, fall to the ground, die, fall to the ground, die, fall to the ground. right? So they just accumulate, they pile up on the ground when they're dead. And again, time, pressure, squeeze, 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 that organic material turns into oil or petroleum or natural gas. And then we dig a hole under the ground and bring up that oil, petroleum, natural gas. Again, these are fossil fuels coming from living organisms from the ocean, and we dig them up. Okay. The first picture here is shale gas, natural gas. Again, if you look around the world, they're not unequal. Not every country has natural gas. Again, the pinpoint on the United States. Yeah, we have a decent amount of natural gas in the United States. Okay. Again, you look at countries like Europe, not a ton in there. Africa, not a ton in there. Okay. Parts of South America, not a lot in there. Again, the United States is kind of unique as well because we can share with each other. We are one big country. We're not 50 small countries. We're one big country, we can kind of all share. Africa is, I don't know how many countries are in Africa, 50 countries maybe. Most of them are not sharing with each other very, very nicely. Okay. Oil fields, I know it's a little blurry, sorry. Oil fields, again, not a ton of oil fields around the world. If you look at Texas, United States, there's a lot of oil there in Texas, United States, and there is. Okay. Yeah. There's a lot of oil in the Gulf of Mexico too. You guys remember the BP oil spill about 10, 15 years ago? I don't know how long, a long time ago. The BP oil spill was in the Gulf of Mexico. They're digging for that oil. You look over here at Iran, Iraq. A lot of oil there. Okay. Again, look at Africa, look at South America. Not a lot of resources there. And you know, if I was to say, name me a third country, you know, a third world country, most people would point to African countries. And this is one of the reasons why. There's just not a lot of resources in Africa. Okay. All right, so again, why oil and natural gas in certain areas of the world? That's where the ancient oceans used to be. Okay, that's where the ancient ocean, the shallow ocean, where all the animals and plants of the ocean used to be hundreds of millions of years ago. All right, other natural resources. Water is a big natural resource. And I also put ice in there. So that's how a lot of people get the water, from the ice melting off the mountain, whatever else. If we don't get ice, a lot of people are not going to get water. So global warming, climate change, that's a severe problem. If the mountains don't get ice, other people are going to run out of water, especially even in the United States. Okay? Forest, lumber, timber, wood, that's a natural resource. Okay? Agriculture, land to plant, land to, you know, for the farm, plant and animal agriculture. Rare metals, that's a natural resource. Air is a natural resource, so having clean air, that is important for health. Okay? And yes, even people, even we are natural resources. Not only can we do things, can we build things and, you know, be labor force, but we can also be an intellectual resource. We can solve problems together. Okay, so having smart people in your country, having a good education system in your country, can lead to having a good amount of resources of other people. Okay, so you want to educate your population so that they can make your country better. Okay, so but guess what? Even with natural fuels or fossil fuels, even those resources are unevenly distributed too. Even people, we don't all live in every country, or, you know, we don't live in every corner of the world. So there's an unequal distribution of that as well. Okay? And again, when you have an unequal distribution of resources, whether it's fossil fuels or natural, you're going to end up with an uneven distribution of wealth, jobs, pollution, and then of course that's going to lead to conflict. And then if you lead to conflict, That's going to lead to even more unequal distribution. Why would you want to share with that country that's mad at you? Right? So having an unequal distribution leads to conflict. Conflict leads to more uneven distribution. And again, how do we solve that? I don't really know. I'll be honest, that's a really hard thing to solve. So, freshwater distribution. Just missed that. Freshwater distribution. Again, note, freshwater, it's not everywhere in the world. Okay? Even in the United States, it's not everywhere in the United States. Okay? Check out Australia for fresh water. Most people in Australia live right there, live on the edges. They don't live in the middle of the country. There's no water. Again, Africa, Sahara Desert. The American Mojave deserts. Water's not everywhere. And water is probably the most important resource we have, especially clean water, fresh water. Wood, land, timber. Wood is not everywhere in the world. Forests are not everywhere in the world. And then on top of that, we're cutting down a lot of the wood around the world. We're making it even smaller. Right? Wood is actually quite scarce. It's not super common. Okay? Obviously, we have the Amazon rainforest, South America. We have our southeastern forest of Kentucky and Appalachia. A lot of forests in Canada and stuff. Northern countries there. You have the Congo, African jungles there as well. So, forests and trees, that is a natural resource. And also remember, that's where the future coal is going to be 100 million years from now. Right? So 100 million years from now, the future coal is going to be found in those places. Okay. Agriculture. The green are good spots for agriculture. Again, note United States has a decent spot for agriculture. Yellow, not a good spot for agriculture. Red is a good spot for tree agriculture, but not really anything else. Forested areas. But again, agriculture, you can't grow stuff everywhere. I wish we could, but we can't. Then the shallow ocean today. So these are the shallow oceans that we have today in the yellow. This is where most of the marine life lives, is in these yellow spots. So whether it's plant or animal, most of the marine living things live in these yellow places. And so 100 million years from now, what will we find in those yellow places? Hopefully 100 million years from now, that's where we're going to find the future oil and the future natural gas. Assuming we don't mess up that process, obviously. Okay? Yeah, we're going to spend the rest of the year talking about that. Yeah. But again, note that you're not going to find oil everywhere, even in the future. You're still going to have an uneven distribution. And having an uneven distribution is typically going to lead to conflict as humans, as a society. Okay? So the ultimate question is, so in a million years, where will the future resources be located? And again, oil, coal, those are fossil fuels anyways, for oil and coal. All right, now, for the rest of the year, we're going to be talking about human impact, what humans can do to make things a little better for ourselves, especially here in America. But ultimately, I just want to kind of end with the idea that in every single map I showed you, the United States is a very fortunate country. We have water. We have woodland. We have farming, agriculture. We have oil, we have gas, we have coal, okay? We have people. We are a very, very fortunate country in that fact that we have the resources that we pretty much need. And that's one reason why America is a powerhouse of the world, because we have those resources. Okay? So be thankful for that. Be grateful for that, because it didn't have to be that way. you know. And that's one reason why, Mexico fights for parts of California back in the old days, Spanish-American Wars. They're fighting for those resources. The reason why French wanted the Canadian, because they want those resources. Okay, and they're going to fight. They're going to go to war for it. Okay? And I'm sure there'll be future wars over the same thing. Future wars are probably going to be over resources like oil and gas and water. Okay, jobs. People are going to fight for those things, and they should. They should fight for them. So how do we solve those issues? Let's figure out a way to evenly distribute the resources. But again, you can imagine, you want to take some of my resources and give it to other people? You can imagine that's going to be a tricky thing to do, right? That's going to rub some people the wrong way. Yeah. But you want to solve world peace? There's your solution. You want to solve world peace? Figure out how to evenly distribute the resources. And we have enough for everybody. Remember that part too. We have enough for everybody. Okay. But I know, very, very socialistic idea. Yeah. All right, that's it. That's all I have for today. So Friday, a study guide we're going to go over. Quiz next Wednesday that will cover a little bit of this material. You already have the study guide. If you want to pull it up, start working on it. Again, the study guide is optional. So if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. But I will say it will help you on your quiz if you did it and you do it correctly. Study guide will help you on your quiz. All right. So hang out, chill for a minute. If you guys have questions tomorrow or Wednesday about